There were quite a few accessories announced for the Nintendo Switch 2, but one of the most exciting ones was the GameCube controller. The GameCube controller is a controller that just can't die. It's been used since 2001, which is when the original GameCube came out. It has been available for every console generation ever since. They even made a GameCube adapter that works with the Wii U, Nintendo Switch, and now the Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo has now released a new official GameCube controller that is wireless, but is it good enough to be considered the Wavebird 2? When you look at the NSO GameCube controller, you'll automatically think it's an exact replica of a GameCube controller. And I'd say you're 99% right. The NSO GameCube controller is pretty much an exact replica of the original GameCube controller. I have here the Smash Bros. Controller that was released for both the Wii U and Nintendo Switch, and it looks and feels almost exactly the same. Button placement is where you would expect them. You have the face buttons, which are positioned in a weird but intuitive way, where the A button is huge but the B button is small on the bottom left side, and X and Y are above it on each side in a similar weird shape. But still, it feels really good. The button placement makes you wonder if Zelda was really the only thing that was on their mind when they made the controller, because it just works perfect with games like Wind Waker. You also have the C-Stick, which feels exactly like the original GameCube controller. The left thumbstick is pretty much the same, even having the cutouts underneath the sticks for better accuracy when doing diagonal movements, which is always a nice touch. Your triggers, which I always love, have exactly the same springy feeling. They even make the same sound. Just listen to it right here. There's also the D-pad, which wasn't the best, but it's still there. I haven't really tested a D-pad because, well, I still wouldn't recommend using the D-pad. But yeah, I just don't recommend using the D-pad for 2D games or anything like that. Where the changes lie are actually at the top. You of course have your Z button on the right side, which can also be used as ZR, but on the left side you have a tiny little ZL button. The main reason for this button is to access the NSO menu when playing NSO GameCube games, but of course you can use this as a normal ZL button when playing non-NSO games. They also added the home button, the capture button, and the all-new C button, which is of course used for game chat. But oddly enough, they didn't add the minus button for some reason. This is actually a big issue because if you were going to play a game such as Metroid Prime relies on the minus button to be the map, which makes it pretty much unplayable because you wouldn't be able to access the map at all. And it's kind of weird that they left this out because I also own a controller by Retro Fighters called the Battle GC Pro, and this controller kind of tries to mimic the GameCube but modernize the controller feel to it. And they've added the minus button on this, I don't know what you would call it, I guess replica, not really a replica, but this modernized GameCube controller, I guess for lack of better words. Either way, still enough, this controller is amazing, and even though it lacks the minus button, it still works pretty well. When it comes to actual usage, it just feels like a GameCube controller. I've had no issues whatsoever when using it on NSO, and of course when using it for games like Smash. Even Mario Sunshine in Super Mario 3D All-Stars feels really good. Battery life is really good as well. Nintendo really doesn't give you like an official statement on what the battery life is supposed to be, but I've been getting somewhere around 20 hours, give or take, of course. And honestly, it's been working pretty well. I've only charged it once since getting it at the official launch date for the Switch 2. Which is always good. I know I was gonna get this question sooner than later, and a lot of people are probably wondering this. Does this controller work with something like the Steam Deck, or let's say an ROG Ally X, or any type of Windows PC? The answer is no. It does not work with any of these devices. I tried first to pair it to my Steam Deck, but the Steam Deck would not recognize the GameCube controller at all. Then of course, I went on and moved to my ROG Ally X thinking this was a Linux issue, but no, the ROG Ally X also did not recognize the GameCube controller. Lastly, I plugged it in through a USB-C to USB-A cable on my PC, as well as a USB-C to C cable on my PC, and no go. Unfortunately, it does not work there, which kind of sucks because it would be great to use this controller for emulation to, of course, play games on Dolphin or even Wii games that utilize a GameCube controller. Hopefully in the future, there's some type of update, or if not, somebody goes ahead and creates something to make the Windows and Linux platforms be able to recognize the GameCube controller, because that would be pretty cool. Anyways, the overall look and feel of this controller is actually amazing and also very nostalgic. I would go as far as saying that this is really the Wavebird 2. Of course, the Wavebird was originally a little bit bigger form factor when compared to a normal GameCube controller, but it still felt very good and was very durable, and just everything about the Wavebird was really nice. When you look at this controller, it pretty much is just the exact replica of original GameCube controller. I will go as far as saying that it is just a GameCube controller made wireless. Now, I will say this, I don't have like an original GameCube controller, like one of the very first GameCube controllers, because my original one actually was chewed up by my dog, and I had used the Wavebird ever since, and I don't have the Wavebird at all anywhere as well. So yeah, I couldn't really test it to like an OG GameCube controller, but when comparing it to the Smash GameCube controller, I will say it feels one-to-one, feels very good, very solid, and yes, the latency is also really, really good. So what do you think about the NSO GameCube controller? Are you thinking of picking one up yourself, or are you still on the fence of getting one? I personally think that it's well worth the pickup, even for its price point. It's definitely something good to have in your collection, and especially with more GameCube games coming to NSO, you probably would want to use that controller to play those games. Games like Soul Calibur 2 do play better with the GameCube controller because the button layouts were kind of designed for the GameCube controller button layout. But other than that, it's still a very good controller to use overall, so I definitely highly recommend it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, don't forget to follow me over on Twitch. I do simultaneously stream on both Twitch and YouTube for now, because it seems like multi-streaming is starting to go through a lot of issues where different companies are starting to put up their own rule set to kind of make it harder to multi-stream. As of now, I'll still continue to multi-stream on both Twitch and YouTube. I did stop multi-streaming on TikTok because there was issues with them, even though I only streamed like 4 times or something like that. But I'll continue to stream on both YouTube and Twitch, so you can definitely catch me there at the Random Encounter Podcast, and of course, right here on this channel. Thanks for watching once again. My name is James. I'll catch you guys next time.